Lucy stood on her own in the corner of the hangar, the name given to the bar where her kind tended to hang out and drink motor oils. Lucy was a member of a robotic race who had recently moved to Earth with the permission of the United States government. She looked around the crowded room as all the Changemorphers were being given their assignments. The assignments were based on what particular thing one transformed into, with the most sought-after jobs going to the race cars and fighter jets of the group. Lucy was not entirely optimistic considering that she was neither a fighter jet nor a race car, but a sofa bed. "Hey Lucy, what are you doing here?" asked Star-Spangled, one of the most popular Changemorphers of the group. He had already been assigned to a NASCAR driver in the Midwest. "Why did you even bother coming?" asked Jetstream. As a fighter jet, she was one of the few Changemorphers who included the thing she changed into in her name. "Leave it out, guys," Lucy protested. "You know we all had to come. I may not be as flashy as you, but I still need an assignment." "Yeah, but who's going to need a sofa bed? They can get them at IKEA. We do tricks," Star-Spangled scoffed. "I can do tricks too," Lucy replied. "Like what? Puff some pillows?" quipped Jetstream, as she and Star-Spangled laughed at their own attempt at humour and walked off whilst high-fiving. Lucy's number was finally called and she walked up to the bar where Bostron, the head of the Changemorphers, was handing out assignments. Bostron was the group's matriarch who, when she wasn't in her humanoid form, spent her time as a semi-truck. She called Lucy over. "Lucy, I've got just a job for you," Bostron told her. "What is it?" Lucy inquired, already deflated at her prospects. "You'll be in the city not far from here," Bostron told her. Lucy was pleased that she would not be leaving New York, as she was enjoying the urban atmosphere. It reminded her of the busy metropolis of the homeworld that they had all been forced to flee. "You'll be in a small apartment on the Upper East Side. A young man called Trevor has just ordered a sofa bed." "Oh good," Lucy feigned enthusiasm and hoped Bostron hadn't noticed. "Now, I know it may not be what you are wanting, but understand you're just not as suited for high-speed pursuits as some of the other Changemorphers. But then again, they're not suited to unfolding and having people sleep on them." Lucy stayed as still as she could. She had been in the cardboard box for half an hour now, waiting for the delivery men to take her up to the apartment she had been assigned to. When they finally arrived, they were very rough in carrying her up the 5 flights of stairs and dumped her casually in the middle of the lounge. She would be living with Trevor, who seemed harmless enough, a 20-something barista in a popular coffee chain. But she did have to make a concise effort not to cough when he smoked in the apartment. When Trevor was out, Lucy was able to run her own errands and nip back to the hangar to see her friends. She sat on a corner table where Star-Spangled and Jetstream were talking. "It's true, I tell you," Jetstream was saying. "The bad robots have been spotted in the Pacific Northwest." "That can't be. How could they have followed us to Earth?" Star-Spangled asked in response. "And even if they did, the government's given us asylum. They wouldn't let them in as well." "The rumour is they have someone on the inside," said Star-Spangled conspiratorially. Lucy was starting to be fed up of being Trevor's sofa bed. For the last 2 weeks he had let his friend Connor stay, and several of those nights Connor had brought company back with him. This was not what Lucy had escaped the oppression on her homeworld for. She had wondered on several occasions about telling Trevor her real identity, but she was a transforming robot from the other side of the galaxy, and not some cheap two-seater he had found on Craigslist. But Bostron had made sure all the Changemorphers knew that this was completely out of the question. Lucy was relieved when Connor left on Tuesday, but this was short-lived when she learned that it was because Trevor's uncle would be staying that night. That was until she learned that his uncle was the Vice President of the United States. The Vice President had shown up around 5 and dropped his bags in the apartment before he and Trevor had gone to dinner. They did not return until after 11. When Trevor had gone to bed, the Vice President, thinking he was alone, started making phone calls. "Yes, it's me. I know you didn't recognize the number. It's a burner phone. That's the point," the Vice President said into his phone. "Yes, that location will work perfectly." The Vice President started noting down GPS coordinates. "Yes, we can get the Changemorphers to go there by sending out a signal. We can mimic one that they will recognize from their homeworld, and then the bad robots will have the opportunity to strike." Lucy knew this was something big. The Vice President must be the government's inside man. The Vice President hung up the phone and went into the small bathroom to brush his teeth. When he came out wearing only a white vest and boxer shorts, he got straight into bed and made a squeal of shock as Lucy began to fold up into her humanoid form. Knowing that she had enough storage compartment to do this without permanently injuring the VP, she got up and ran for the door, making her way to the hangar as quickly as she could. She explained what had happened to Bostron. "We'd been hearing similar rumours, but nothing concrete," Bostron said. "If we had detected that signal, it would have been too tempting to pass up. If any of our others from the homeworld were to make it here, we would have gone straight to investigate." And so Lucy saved the day and was given a medal, much to Star Spangled and Jetstream's dismay.